What does Pan-Africanism mean to you?
Actually, Pan-Africanism mean to me Madagascar needs to link our country to the Africa continent because of the colonization, because of the geographic situation of Madagascar. We forgot we are in the same continent in Africa, and we forgot we are in the same struggle. Africa have a lot of young people, and there is no future for these young people. We need to start to feel as an African people because we forgot we are in the same struggle.
All right, you guys, let's get into first.
There is a movement promoting our stories, and many of us grew up with a strong craving for images we can relate to. Production teams, writers, creative heads have come together to tell stories, and this podcast is their voice. The themes covered are very relevant to the Black community, and anyone concerned by the social and racial injustices that are in place to stifle this voice. The Pan-African voice is not easily heard, and here we talk about our movies, that film or doc which you heard about but didn't get to see. What was the story? Where can I watch it? It now has a voice. Tune in. We walk you through these stories and interview the filmmakers. Welcome. Karibu sana. Karibu sana.
And starting right on the lens. Ready, and action.
I wanted to welcome you to the Pan-African Film Podcast. It's a pleasure to host you today to discuss your beautiful film, which is called Disco Africa. And I'm just going to summarize for the audience a little bit about your film and the plot. So your name is Luck, and I'm going to try to say your last name. Is it RAZANAJAONA?
Yes, RAZANAJAONA.
Okay. The director of Disco Africa, a Malagasy story. So it's kind of aesthetically inspired in the 70s, but it's set in Madagascar today. It's a story about Kwame, who's 20s, like around 20, and he struggles to make a living in the mines. And then he goes back to his hometown, kind of reconnecting with his childhood, I guess, ghosts, where he's reunited with his mother, like some old friends. And then he has to like come to terms with a lot of underlying corruption in Madagascar, but also like a lot of themes on mourning and love and, loyalty, right? So very beautiful film. Welcome to the show, Luck, and the podcast. Tell us a little bit about your career, your background, like your main objective in making Disco Africa.
Yes, it's a very pleasure to be here today. My name is Luck RAZANAJAONA, and before to go to cinema school in 2008, I was a social worker in the street of Antananarivo. And my main work this time, it's 2003 and 2008, between this period. My real work was to go to the street and to take care of the young orphans in the street of Madagascar. So I think this period built a lot of my inspiration to be a filmmaker. Then I go to Marrakesh to go to cinema school. I had a bachelor's. I went in Marrakesh in 2008 to 2011. And then I moved to Madagascar to start to make short films. So my real background is, as I said, it's I was a social worker, and one other part of my life, I was very interested to the music, and I compose a lot of music for the local artists in Madagascar. So it's the mix of this, I think, to start to be a filmmaker. So actually, I live in Antananarivo, and I make my own film. Actually, I have 3 short films. One long documentary film co-directed with my friends, Tuvniena, and Disco Africa is my first feature film. Yes.
Yeah, so you've come a long way in a relatively short period of time. Congratulations. And also because it being your first film, it's really a testament to your studies and all that you've done in your journey as a filmmaker because it's very beautiful. And then I also noticed there were like 4 different writers credited to the story, the Malagasy story of Disco Africa. Can you speak about the journey of the script and the screenplay?
So, as a filmmaker in Madagascar, first I wrote my script. I wrote the whole script first in 2012, and I start to move, for example, to Durban Film Art, to Rotterdam Film Art, to trying to search a producer, because in Madagascar there is not a producer, and it's very hard to make a film. So in 2012, I wrote the first version of the script. And in 2016, when I start to work with my producer, Jonathan Rubin from France, we decide to make a residency to trying to make the best thing for the script of Disco Africa. So my producer Jonathan called Marcelo Novaes from Brazil to work with me in Reunion Island. We went in Reunion Island for 4 months to start the first script of Disco Africa, which is a co-write with a Brazilian writer. And this version was good, but the thing is, in 2016, we had a lot of character inside the film. So in 2018, before we submit to the French fund, Centre Cinématographique Fund, my producer called another writer to trying to delete 1-2 characters in the script. And actually, the film you see is the last version of the script. So we take 4 years with 2 writers from Brazil and from France to write the last version of the script before to shoot in 2022. Yes.
Wow, that is quite the journey, yes. Where did you shoot it?
We start to shoot in June 2022.
In Madagascar.
Yes. I love to shoot in the, in the east coast of Madagascar. So we start to prepare the film in 2021. And in 2022, in May, the team from France come to Madagascar. And we start to shoot in June 2022. And we finish in the end of July 2022. So in terms of period, it's 6 weeks of shooting. Yes.
You said how many weeks? 6 weeks shooting? From about June to July?
2022.
Okay. That's beautiful. That's interesting. So, with fiction, yeah, especially with a feature, it's funny how the script can take, 4 years, you said? And then it's like the actual production time is 6 weeks, right? So, yeah. And if it's well written, you can always shorten the production time, right? Take out a few characters. Quite the journey, yeah. And then why did you choose the aesthetics of the 70s for the film? Can you comment on that as a director?
The stories, I was very interested by Pan-Africanism and what Madagascar made as a Pan-African country just after the independence. Because the story is, we take the independence in Madagascar in 1960. And during this period, we was very strong as country, economically, socially. And we take a lot of parts of fights in Africa. For example, in South Africa, we was very activist to take care about ANC and Mandela. We sent a lot of military in Mozambique, in Biafra War, and like this. And during 60 and 70, we was very strong. And when we start to take money from international fund from France and like this. The corruption start in 70s. So my first ideas why Madagascar have lost his independence in 70s because of corruption and like this. And the second thing is in 70s in Madagascar, there was a lot of musicians who was not believe in the real independence. So in Madagascar, they start to wrote the song about revolutionary fight. So it's all about 70s. And for me, it was very interesting as a period. So I put the story of Disco Africa with this mood of 70s. Yes.
I see. Yes, I wasn't aware of how much the Malagasy people contributed to all the struggles in those periods. Thank you for explaining that. And can you tell also the audience about the importance of this story in, showing intergenerational trauma, like you said, like each kind of generation has an impact on the next one, right? And how the story evolves as, I guess, Kwame starts to search for answers on his dad.
For me, it was very important to make this film because of the thing is, actually, Madagascar is not really independent in terms of country. And I was thinking about what is my message to the future of young people in Madagascar, because I put a lot of thematics inside this film. For example, the research of the struggle of the father, the research of identity, because Kwame make like a journey to search his identity, and the link between Madagascar and the Africa continent. But actually, I'm not the only people who tell about these thematics, because it's not the really important thematics in the street in Madagascar today, for example. So the thing is, I was trying to put this topic on the table and trying to have an impression of people in Madagascar, because as I said, we are not very really independent. And actually, daily life of Madagascar people is to wake up in the morning and to go to searching the work, to eat, and then they sleep at night, and it's exactly the same thing every day. So I think my message to the next generation, my message to people is it's time to speak about our history, and it's time to speak about the topic of, as we know exactly what is our history in Madagascar. Yes.
Yeah, it sounds like just how Kwame gained that political awareness and awakening. You're hoping your film will also do that for your country and its current issues and struggles, right?
Yeah.
That's a really nice message. So even earlier you mentioned, Pan-Africanism. So what does Pan-Africanism mean to you?
Actually, Pan-Africanism mean to me, Madagascar need to link our country to the Africa continent. First, because of the colonization, because of the geographic situation of Madagascar, we forgot we are in the same continent in Africa, and we forgot we are in the same struggle. For example, I was in Burkina Faso. We are in the same struggle. Africa have a lot of young people, and there is no future for these young people. And for me, Pan-Africanism is we need to start to feel as an African people, because, as I say, because of Madagascar is an island, we are French colonized, and we forgot we are in the same struggle. So for me, Pan-Africanism means that. And one other thing is, for me, Pan-Africanism is actually very important because of, in terms of cinema, actually the thematic of Pan-Africanism is back. So actually you see a lot of a film from Africa tell about Pan-Africanism, tell about what is the Africa identity. And for me, I need to be inside this movement. Yes.
That's great.
Mm.
Yes, I'm glad you feel that way. And I've never thought of that perspective. I guess Madagascar being an island, there's a kind of feeling of reuniting physically, like, even more than intellectually with the continent, just bridging those gaps, I guess. It's good to hear. And can you speak to us about like the budget and even maybe the distribution strategy? You came even to this interview thanks to Sudu, your French distributor. So shout out to Sudu. Thank you. If you could tell us a little bit about your journey. Like you said, you were shopping the script and then you, I guess, partnered with did you say a French producer first?
So, as I say, the first big challenge as a filmmaker was to move to another country for searching for the partner, co-producer, producer, and then the one another big challenge was to propose a good script for the different fund in international funds. For me, it's a very big challenge because of what? Because as I said, I made 2 free short films before, but for the people in cinema industry, Madagascar, they don't know Madagascar. So with my French producer, we was, I don't know the term, but we was very confident. But at the same time, for us, we felt to make the first film from Madagascar co-produced, we need to be very strong in terms of motivation and like this. So we took 6 years to move to different residency, to move to different film markets. And it's my first experience with co-producer because my short film was made in the local industry. It's like a small team, a small budget. And it's first time for me to have a very big budget. When we start to make a budget of Disco Africa, it was 500,000 euro estimation. When I start to speak with my producer, he said, "Look, it's not realistic to have this budget, but if we have, for example, 100,000 euro, it's good for Malagasy film." So in 2022, when we start to shoot, I think we start with maybe 200,000 for the budget. And Disco Africa Malagasy story is very interesting case in cinema because Madagascar had 1, 2, 3 director in 80s. They shoot a feature film in Madagascar, but they decide to move in France and work in France. So between 80s and today, there is not cinema in Madagascar. So when we start to shoot in 2022, it was difficult to have a team from Madagascar because there is no team to work in cinema. And one another difficulty is all my first team from France is French. For example, the DOP is from France. The first assistant is from French. And it was difficult to mix the 2 teams because Malagasy people don't have a habitude to work in cinema. And the French people from France, for example, my first assistant, before she worked with me, she worked with Tony Gatliff in France, famous director, very big production. And then when she moved in Madagascar, it was small team. So there is a very big challenge, but finally we shoot the film. And for me, when we finish Disco Africa, it was a new experience to have a distributor as Sudu, because before it was me to send him my film in festival and like this, my short film. And it's first time to me to have a team like Sudu to distribute the film. And I think that is the key of success of Disco Africa actually, because actually we are in the big screen in Africa, in Kenya, in Burkina, and like this. So I think it was an interesting challenge, and I think it was an experience because we don't know what is the result, but yes, that's it.
Wow. Yeah. I just never even thought about, the fact of, I guess, how underdeveloped the cinema industry is in Madagascar and how, because of the nature of your production, you might have had differences in just cultures when you were shooting. That's very interesting. Tell me, is it Luke then? Luke? Yeah.
Look,
Why was it so important for you to tell this story?
originally, the story come from my own experience when I was a social worker in the street. Because Madagascar is the country who never had a war, like for example in Sudan or like this. But for me, it was very hard to know that our country is very poor, and our country, our young people here have no future. And before to study cinema in Morocco, I was trying to go to university, in department of finance and like this. And I took 1 year and I left because of what? Because you see all of the corruption in the university. If you don't pay, you cannot go to the next level. When I work as a social worker in the street, for example, if you don't have money, you cannot eat, you cannot sleep in the good condition. And the period of 2002 and 2008 is very interesting in Madagascar because in 2002, there is a political crisis in Madagascar between the two presidents. I put these two presidents in Disco Africa because I choose marionettes, I choose puppets to tell this story. But for me, this period is interesting because if Madagascar is here, for example, in terms of economics, after 2002, we are very down. So this mix of my environment, my own story, the story I heard when I was a social worker, the story I see, because I see in my eyes the political crisis, I put the mix of this and I put in Disco Africa. And one another thing, I have a lot of friends who lost the father or sister or like this during this crisis of 2002. Actually, we don't know where is the body, where is the grave. So I was trying to put this in the table because, Madagascar is a very peaceful country. But I think during 65 years of independence, we don't take time to speak about our trauma. So my idea to make Disco Africa is to tell about this trauma and to tell about if we don't take care of our young people, if there is a next political crisis, the politician take our young people and manipulate to like civil war or like this. So there is my inspiration to make the film.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Obviously, if we don't take the time to heal and reflect on the past, it's so much easier, right? To just repeat the same things you feel like over and over, right? And so it is a really good awakening story and beautifully shot, but also the music is an important part. You've mentioned you were yourself a musician, so I do recommend it. Like you mentioned earlier, It's currently touring all over Africa. And do you have any more places that the audience can watch your film if they want to look for it? If you have any news about it, if you want to share anything new that you're working on, or like if you also want to share like websites or media, social media channels to find more information about Disco Africa.
Actually, the more information of Disco Africa is in Sudu, but we plan to have a tour in Madagascar because the reality is in November, we made avant-premiere in Antananarivo and in Tamatave, the place I shoot the film, but in reality, the people in Madagascar cannot access for this film. So the thing is, we have just 2 cinema theater in Antananarivo and no cinema theater in the, for example, in the province like Tamatave, like in all Madagascar. So the first site is to trying to make another tour in Madagascar, and I think the formula of mobile cinema is interesting here in Madagascar because mobile cinema, you have your own screen, you have a projection, and for me it's very important to be close to the people because Disco Africa is in 2 times. The first time is we see the film, but very important for me. The second time is to speak with the people in Madagascar about his impression, what he felt, if he see the struggle of Kwame, did he recognize himself as a Kwame. That is one thing. You tell about the music. When I wrote the script of Disco Africa, maybe 15 music, Pan-African music, was also inside the script in 2012. Because of what? Because my first idea in Disco Africa is like a musical film. You know, like every seconds, one music, every second, 1 second, one music.
Like a musical.
Exactly, because I propose to tell a very heavy story of Kwame, and I was afraid of the reaction of people because, you know, sometimes if you tell a sad story, maybe the people is bored. And I said, okay, maybe the best thing to tell this story is musical. So I put seconds and music. And when we start to work with a French co-writer, we decide to choose one specific music in one specific moment in the struggle of Kwame, and we decide to put the text. Because of what? Because we was trying to put the music as an important element of narration. So, for example, when he take the coffin and he moved to the car moved to Tamatave, we see the first music and we see the text. What happened to you, my grandson? You need to focus on you. And, you know, we was trying to make this kind of narration. And finally, I think we have a good work. And the very interesting thing is the last song in the film, Muhammadu Bamba. You know, the last song in the film, Muhammadu Bamba, is Senegalese Senegalese music, and this music tells the story of the people named Muhammadu Bamba, which is the one of the very strong revolutionary in Senegal. And I put this because of what? Because I was trying to make a mirror of the life of Kwame and the life of these revolutionary people. So that's why I choose the different music, different text, but it's very part the narration. Yeah.
I see. That's awesome. I had not made those connections, but you could definitely tell throughout the film how important music was. You know, it definitely played a big role. And I'm not surprised to hear that it was included in your screenplay that way. So yeah, it was a very beautiful film. So thanks for sharing. I don't know if you want to add anything else, like I said, in terms of social media, where can we find more of your films or anything you want to share with the audience?
So, as I said, actually, Disco Africa is in the theater in Africa continent. I think the last screening was in Dakar. And actually, we plan to prepare the French release of French theater release of the film in September. But actually, we start to prepare the tour in Madagascar because, as I said, it's very difficult for Malagasy people to see the film. So maybe we make a mobile cinema. But if the people want to see Disco Africa, actually they can see the film in flight company like Qatar Airways, like Canada Airways, Ecoman Airways, And if you are in Europe, you can see the film in filmfriend.com. It's a website if you are a member of the bibliothèque in Europe, you can access for free the film. And of course, if the people want to have news of Disco Africa, they can go to the Sutu Connection website and Sutu Connection social media. So, yes.
And another one. Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of the Pan-African Film Podcast. We are now on Spotify and Instagram. Just search Pan-African Film Podcast to follow and like us there. Our new platform is 360 Africa. That's 360 Africa. And we want to thank our Kenyan Vibe partners. Shout out to the KV Squad. Last but not least, we thank our editor Ace. Please send us your feedback, like, follow, and comment.